welcome back YouTube to another episode here at WILDMAN Lives. I'm your host, WILDMAN. Now on today's episode, I'm going to be doing the back squat and I'm going to be adding chains to the implement as well. I'm also going to be doing some sled work in between to try to get my conditioning going, and I just like using the sled. It's just fun to do, so I'm going to do it. Now you'll notice from my previous videos that I've been using the chains a lot on the back squat, and as I've explained before, that's because I'm trying to work on the deadlift more, but my central nervous system can't compete with all the volume I'm doing with deadlift if I'm doing heavy back squats as well. So I've been using the chains instead, and I've actually found that to be working because typically I wear wrist wraps, a belt, and knee sleeves when I'm working out, but because I was doing smaller weight with the chains, I decided to not wear wrist wraps and not wear any knee sleeves, and I'm actually finding that I'm increasing mobility in my wrist and my knee strength is getting a lot stronger. As I've said before, I used to run a lot when I was younger, and as a result, I've kind of torn away a lot of support in my inner left knee, and that's why I was wearing the knee sleeves. But since I've been doing this, I've actually been rehabilitating that knee and it's getting a lot stronger. So I'm just going to continue doing this because it's actually helping me with the deadlift since I'm taking it a little bit easier, and I'm also gaining better knee strength. So I'm kind of getting the best of both worlds here, so I'm not going to stop doing it. So let's pop into today's workout and I'll show you what I got planned. Now, like I said, for today's strength giant set, I'm doing the back squat. And later, I'm going to be adding those chains and I'm going to work up to a 3-rep max, doing 3 reps all the way up until I get to my 3-rep max. And in between, I'm going to be doing some sled work. First, starting with a strongman pull. This is just a great exercise to do for your back and your obliques and your hips. And is a common exercise you see in strongman events. And then I just spin that thing around, and then I'm going to do some sled chest flies on the way back. And you can see that rope drags perfectly. So that way when I have to start over again, the rope is right where I need it to be. Ingenuity, or I've just done this a lot and figured this out. You tell me. That's going to be the strength giant set for the day. And like I said, I'm going to be adding those chains as well, which are going to be 45 pounds in total weight. Now there's 3 reasons why I really enjoy working out with the chains every back squat day. The first reason, like I said, is my knee. I used to run and play sports a lot when I was younger, and as a result, I completely tore away all the support in my inner knee on my left side. So since that's the case, I have always felt some knee pain, especially when it came to back squats. And I used to wear knee sleeves every time I did it. And even though knee sleeves help, I kind of felt like it wasn't helping my knee gain strength, and it was actually hurting my hip. Like something about the compression being around my knee was making my left hip feel out of place. So I stopped doing that and I lowered the weight. And now that I'm doing it with the chains, I feel like my knee strength is getting a lot better and a lot more confident. So I'm just going to keep doing this because that's what's been helping my knee the most. The second reason is when I get down to the very bottom, I'm able to go like an inch or 2 lower because I feel comfortable going below parallel. And you can see that I'm really trying to be deliberate when I'm going down in the back squat because I want to make sure that I'm going as deep as I possibly can. Because even when I teach people the back squat, it's really hard for me to teach them how to get to parallel. Because when you're overloading the movement and your posterior chain is activated, your hips usually get in the way. And so the only way to really get down below parallel is to move your knees a little bit outward. But then that causes your hips to sink in what we call butt wink. So we don't want that happening because that's not going to be beneficial to your lift at all and can really put your lower back at risk. So it's kind of nice practicing with this weight and being able to go below parallel, knowing that I'm going to be able to come up okay, and then it'll just be a fight to lock it out at the top, which I know I can do. And the third reason why I enjoy using these chains is because, like I said earlier, my central nervous system is able to handle this a little bit better. So then I'm able to do deadlifts more often, which is what I'm really trying to focus on right now. Since I have had to change up my whole deadlift stats ever since I ruptured my left bicep. And I really like doing the sled on this day because it's very lightweight. And all I was really trying to do was just, after I'm done overloading my legs, then I'm just kind of moving with a purpose with the sled. Because doing the back squat is not a real life function where you're going to pick up something that's perfectly calibrated on your back and start with it at the eccentric portion of the lift. Typically, life throws things like a sled or a yoke or a farmer's carry where it's uneven and awkward and you have to carry it, and it's going to be pulling on your obliques left and right and from side to side. And that's a real life movement. So after I'm done overloading the movement with the strength portion, which is the back squat, then I like to remind my legs that they're functional by doing these easy movements. And I really feel like overall that is the best leg workout you can do. All right, so everything went according to plan, and I couldn't be happier because as I was getting down to the bottom, you could see that I was getting a nice deep squat, which is really hard to do with a back squat. So this is actually teaching me how to find that bottom and to be comfortable to jump out of that hole once I'm at the bottom. So just in case you're trying to do the gym math, this is a 45-pound barbell. These black weights are 55 pounds. The reds are 45 pounds. The chain that is holding the drop down chains is 5 pounds total, and they never completely go into the ground. So that weight is going to remain the same. So really it's 340 pounds at the bottom of the lift. And then as I go up, then those chains are 40 pounds and they will rise with me, which is making 380 pounds total at the top. And doing that for 3 reps with no knee sleeves, I'm very happy with that. I remember that was really hard for me to do a few months ago when I was trying to do this for the first time without any knee sleeves on and trying to train without equipment on. So I'm very happy with that. Now we're going to finish the workout by doing the variation giant set and the assistance giant set and the accessory giant set. So I'm just going to go as fast as I can right now because I'm burning daylight. So let's pop in and let's finish this workout. Now for the variation giant set, I was doing the front squat, starting off with 155 pounds, which I typically don't do. I usually start off with 135 pounds. And I'm mainly trying to work that interior chain now, which is your core and your quads. And I really wanted to overload my quads. So the plan was to go up to 250 today and see how far I could get. And I just continued in the same format that I was in the strength giant set, which is just doing that sled back and forth, just to make sure it's a nice easy number when it's done. And like I said before, to remind my legs that they're functional. So the hardest thing about a front squat is getting it in the right position. I have big shoulders, and so that actually keeps the bar away from my neck and off my carotid artery. But if you're a skinnier person, that bar is going to sit right there on your carotid artery, and you're going to be fighting passing out the entire time. Not because the weight is heavy, but because just that minimal amount of pressure is going to cut off the blood circulation to your head. Kind of like when you're in a chokehold. It's kind of the same concept. So the idea is to be able to get it off the rack and move with a purpose. But you can see as I come up to 250, I got to make sure that my brace is strong and that I'm not making any mistakes. So unfortunately, that sat on my neck a little bit longer than I wanted to, but that's okay because 4 reps after all that back squatting and all that sledding, I'll take that any day when it comes to the front squat. So at the end of my 250-pound front squat, I was feeling very tired in the legs. So for the assistance giant set, I was doing 3 rounds, and by the last round, I wanted to work up to a heavy sled aux drag, where I just put the straps out in front of me, and then I just walk forward like this, which is really good for shoulder stability and overall strength if you're trying to drag something or push something. And unfortunately, the bar on the sled does not go high enough to capture all the weight, so those would slide off if I didn't stick this little pole in there. That's kind of how I make sure that I'm able to pull it without it sliding off. And you can see I had to kind of Fred Flintstone stumble my feet a little bit to get that thing moving. My legs were very tired. But 400 pounds on an aux drag after all that work, I was very happy with that. And I struggled bust myself all the way to the finish line, but I was able to pull it off. So I was very happy with that. And in between those sled drags, I was doing weighted abnet sit-ups to make sure that I was getting that stability in my core. And then I was flushing out the lactic acid on the bike just to make sure that I can recover a little bit faster. And that was the end of the workout. All right, so that's going to go ahead and cover it for this evening. Really happy that I hit those back squats down to death. Front squats, I was able to push this bad boy across the bullpen, and I was able to stick my flag in it. It's just missing a flag though, so I need to go find it. Really appreciate everybody stopping by, and I hope you learned something new. I'll see you next time. Thank you.